and there's a lot of world headquarters there. It's a lot of money, white collar. So I would have to, and I'm ignorant to it, but I'd have to find out because right now, with just what I've known from the past, that says something to me. And
I
it's
can dig it.
probably it's probably the suburban whites or the suburban housewives that just could not take that shit anymore, man.
Dig it. I so we're just now going live. So we've been shooting this shit this whole time, talking. It wasn't live. It is what it is. But for people just checking in, this is Mike from Buckeyes and Beyond, the organization that is headquartered out of Toledo, Ohio. Co-founder is also Heather Johnson. She's out of Columbus, correct?
Yes.
And the organization Buckeyes and Beyond is pretty much oriented to, well, you can explain for them.
We're a nonprofit, nonpartisan social justice advocacy group. At least that's what we started out as and proclaim to be, and we'll take, this is not designed on party, but unfortunately now there is pretty much only one party that supports democracy and equal justice,
Some way.
and civil rights. So, we'll take those Lincoln Project people or those Never Trumpers or anybody who wants to fight along for a specific cause, but pretty much anything civil rights, whether it's the policing reform, the school to prison pipeline, housing equality, healthcare equality, homelessness, hunger, those kind of things. And anytime we see an injustice, we'll go after it. If we can, wherever it's at. I mean, we're trying to grow so that we can lend our support eventually across the country within 2 to 3 years.
I love that. I love that goal. I love your drive when it comes to just making sure that you can grow and reach more people. I think that's extremely important. One of the things that really got me excited when I first came across, because at the time I think so many people were so exhausted throughout 2020, and at least for this area of Pennsylvania or Pennsylvania in general and all the places you've been reaching out and connecting with, I think you just kind of breathed a little bit of fresh air back into things, reinvigorated. Really think about what is going on in more of a calm sense, because you have a really big nonchalantness about you. You're pretty much just really go with the flow. I don't give a fuck, and I dig that. I did want to jump back a little bit because we were talking and people didn't know about. We've been chatting since 8 o'clock and we've been having some technical difficulties, a bunch of technical difficulties, and even still, it's a little bit fuzzy. I had to change my setup, so it's just been a little crazy. So please forgive me. But yeah, so I had Mike introduce himself, talk a little bit about Buckeyes and Beyond. But what I'm getting to and what I want to get to is talking about Ohio as a whole, what's going on there, what you think needs to be done still, what you think that we've made some progress in, and then we'll talk about the event that you have coming up at the end of this month in dedication to Representative John Lewis, our great civil rights leader, and talk a bit about also what he means to you, because I know that you dig him a lot, really still look up to him. So first off, all right, back to Ohio. I asked you the question of which city do you think is making the most progression, but what city do you think really is getting left behind?
What city? I don't know, to be honest. I guess to go with the fact of what you said, the question I answered before we went live, as I mentioned that Franklin County stunned me in the presidential election by going blue. But also what is getting left behind is Columbus when you see that you've had two unarmed black men murdered out there within a week of each other. So just along those lines, I have to say that they've got some work to do, and we need to be focused on that.
Yeah. From an outsider looking in, I mean, that's my opinion, but I'm not from Ohio. But looking from a media perspective, I'd be like, yo, what is going on in Columbus? Like,
those are national
what is
stories.
going on?
Those should have been, if those would have happened this summer, they would have never got into talking about, man. But
if it would have happened in the summer, it would have been protest out the ass in Ohio.
When Andre Hill's family went and got Ben Crump, I knew that would get a little bit of attention because he's not a shy cat. He
does not play around.
He's got platform. So, unfortunately, what's going on with Casey Goodson Jr.'s case, I don't know. But the fact that the dude hasn't been charged yet, I've got a problem. And I'm sure a lot of people got a problem. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot going on down there when the weather gets better, if there's not already.
For sure. No. Right off the bat, just AC, it breaks my heart. Like, Andre breaks my heart too, but Casey was so young and such. Andre, I don't know Andre, but he was a human being. But Casey, it's just so thrown on us that he's such a good person and was doing such good things, and it just it hurt. It hurts. It really stabs at the jugular for me personally. So coming into the new year, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely want to make sure that like I get out and pay my respects to the family, especially the Hill family. I haven't really seen much coverage on the media pertaining to Casey Goodson Jr., but I have seen some footage on the media concerning Andre Hill and his family. Like they did do a press conference the other day that I saw, and that gave me hope that they're going to continue to stand up. They're not going to back down. They're going to continue to put up a fight. And it seems like they've got a really solid unit there of a family to keep each other going and encouraging each other. And I really admire and dig that. And I hope that they stay fighting for them, because that was just, I mean, looking at that video and the way that happened.
Columbus has a pretty decent activist community, and well, actually, Columbus has more kind of civil rights nonprofits or social justice nonprofits than any of the other cities in Ohio by far. And Heather's down there doing good work, and a lot of her friends. That's, if you see her post, that's not going away. That's going to be going on until justice is served.
I have such respect for the two of y'all. I don't know how you came across her or met her, but you know, when you know something's meant to be, it's meant to be.
I can tell you how. I went to Casey Goodson Jr.'s. There's a protest for him in December, right in front of the State House, and I pull up to a parking meter, get out, try to use my debit card. It doesn't work. I don't have any quarters, and this woman comes up to me and, hey, let me use my debit card. I'll buy it. It's like, all right, thank you. Here, have a couple T-shirts, because I went down there with some Buckeyes and Beyond stuff, trying to make friends, and it was her. So after I was like, that woman just, because I parked right behind her, and she was out getting her stuff, and I was having problems with my card, and she paid. And about 10 minutes after that, because she was bringing out all her Subway sandwiches for everybody at that protest.
For those who don't know, please explain the Subway sandwich.
So Casey was shot carrying a bag of Subway into his family after a dentist appointment. He was shot in the back several times, fell in the screen door in front of the whole family. So regardless of anybody says he flashed a weapon or he did or he didn't, well, obviously he was no danger at the point he's putting a key into a door with a bag of Subway and getting just shot in the back, man. we're gonna
Yeah.
fight that until justice.
Agreed, brother. I want to jump in the comments really quick. Leslie jumped in.
Go ahead. Okay.
Leslie Sabatino said, super excited to work with Mike, Heather, and the rest of Buckeyes and Beyond. Can't wait to Ohio soon. And I think we were talking about the situation with Casey Goods Jr. Bobby said we all got problems at 100%. Yes, Leslie, it's fucking cold blood murder. And I know we've got our own problems here in Pennsylvania, right? Like every city's doing their own thing. But I can't help but always go back to thinking about Casey and Andre. Ricardo Munoz here in Lancaster just tugs at my cord, and Walter Wallace Jr. in Philly really, but Andre Hill and Casey Gibson Jr. also as well. And I need to get out there. Like I have to make sure I check my schedule and see if I can clear it. I'm gonna do my best because last month I really wanted to, and I didn't. So I got to make it out there for them. So moving back to that, you created a John Lewis Memorial event coming up for the 27th. Would you mind telling the guests a little bit about that and why you're doing it?
Well, I honestly believe, well, first of all, let me just put it this way. John's my idol. He's my hero. And he's the only hero I ever had that never fell off that pedestal. I am a hypercritical person, both to myself and to others when I can get into that mood. But you will never be able to find anything about that man that will ever ruin his legacy. He was a man of moral integrity, and what he did from the age of 19, actually from 4, he was preaching to his family's chickens at the age of 4 because he wanted to be a
There you go.
And then what he did over the Edmund Pettus Bridge, walking over, no weapons, no nothing, knew they were going to get the shit beat out of them, and they went and did it, and then they came back. So with everything that's happened in the last year, his passing was crushing to me because I was actually trying to start a petition to get him nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize for his lifetime of work. And then he passed. And then with the election and just all the craziness, it's like he's already falling out of the public conscious just because we've had probably 3 or 4 history-making events in any other year, but in one day now. So it's
not to mention all the figures that passed away last year, not even just John.
No, man. Last year was not a good year for losing awesome, iconic people of color. So with this being Black History Month, he's the first person that comes to my mind that I would want to do something for. So we're going to do it over the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Bridge here in Toledo. And I'm not sure if there's no John Lewis, there's necessarily a Martin Luther King Jr. bridge here in Toledo. John was one of the men behind the man, and a large part of that. So while I'm walking over that bridge, that'll be what's going through my mind is if that man had never been born, what would this bridge be named? And also just to give the people in Toledo some awareness that there's a group here that loves this dude, and if you want to come out and march and honor him, we'll do that. We're just going to go over an 1,100-foot bridge along the sidewalk, down and back, and then we'll figure out something to do afterwards. It's going to be cold, but symbolically, I couldn't think of anything better to do than march over the Martin Luther King Jr. Bridge.
I love the symbolism behind it. I think sometimes simplicity is more than you will ever need. And the simplicity of what you're doing just to honor him and keep his spirit alive. I think is really awesome, and I'm really trying to get there. Like I really once Tuesday or Wednesday hits, I'll have a better idea of knowing if I can definitely come or not. So Leslie, please hold a spot for me because I really do want to go. John Lewis is a hero to me, and all the things we went through last year, all the events that all of us as part of this movement have went through last year. Doesn't matter what part of the country you're in, we've all went through shit, right? Thank you, baby. So I forget where I was going. Doesn't matter. Yeah, I forget what question I was asking. So when John Lewis died, I did a little something to pay my respect, but it was so much going on at the time that it kind of just slipped my mind until about December. And then I remembered, John Lewis is here, and then I thought back to when I saw him going to Black Lives Matter Plaza in DC, and he wasn't doing well then, but he still went. Yep. And that was like the last time that I really had significant thoughts about him up until December, and I felt so bad. Like I felt really bad.
Here, let me interrupt there real quick, because I failed to mention this. If y'all think that John Lewis's spirit didn't have something to do with Georgia going blue, that's huge.
Yes.
And I know I wasn't the only one praying, John, come on, man, come on.
For real. Not only for what he's done for Georgia, but his spirit in general. I think it not only did all the work that Stacey Abrams and all the people that rallied with her, it was also people really trying to keep his spirit alive and saying, no, like we've had enough. We're not getting taken advantage of. We're not getting pushed out. Like, and if we don't uphold this stance, then all these people that fought for us would be for nothing. And I think that's where he really comes into play. His legacy really did do us good as far as like at least getting from Go ahead.
He's someone to look up to and emulate. You will never become that person. I will never become that person, but it's something to aspire to and keep in mind when you're making decisions on a daily basis.
A little off-topic question, but how do you feel about what happened today?
Just cut out, brother.
How do you feel about what happened today with the impeachment?
I'll be very honest, man. Like, I'll go through phases of outrage and then just total burnout and what I want to move on to. Right now, I tuned in, not as much as I did during the first one. They're both
same.
I wanted to view history, but this is just a little ridiculous, and I knew the way it was going to go, and trying to get outraged and spending my time watching it. No, man, I spent my time trying to be proactive and lining up positive things as opposed to watching it. So I was actually getting the work instead of watching it.
Yeah, I watched it the first day.
It is, to answer your actual question, we just lost credibility as a country. Who's going to do business with the United States now? He had Biden in there, but there's no trust. There's no trust.
As far as I'm concerned, Biden is kind of like an invisible president. He's not like a strong person, personality-wise, rhetorics, the way he speaks, his tone, any of that. Like, he's just not a very strong person.
Well, and his whole point right now is he's trying to draw everything down, man. He's trying to draw everything down, which he said that's what he was going to do. He's doing exactly what he said he was going to do.
True, but it's still so early in this administration that I I feel like he's going to get burnt out really quick and then just stop. Because we already know Republicans are going to, look, they're going to throw him through the ringer, you know? And I'm not saying, like, Biden wasn't my pick. Bernie was. So I'm not completely gung-ho for him. I'm going to be super critical of him, especially now that Trump is not getting, you know, he's not getting reprimanded for what happened at the Capitol. And I'm literally thinking about the custodian and that officer that led those people away from politicians. I'm thinking about the people of color that were working at the Capitol that day, and women and people that were scared and fearing for their fucking lives. I feel like they need justice.
They do.
And if they're not going to get it through Trump, we need to get it somewhere else. But also, I don't want Trump getting a leg up. Like, I personally don't think he's going to run a second time. I think he's going to try and he's going to keep his name and his influence in the party, or whatever happens if the Trumpist party breaks off from the Republicans, because the Republicans, conservative Republicans, have talked about forming a new party or an offshoot. They had a secret meeting the other day and they're talking about forming a new party. So it might happen. If that's the case, you still got all these Trump supporters that will come to the forefront of the line, and Trump can just groom them and say, okay, you can run for presidency. I'll continue to be whatever I'm going to be, the douchebag of the century, whatever. But I don't think this is the last we've seen of Trump. It's not the last we've seen of Trumpism. It's not the last we've seen of white supremacy. It's not the last we've seen of white privilege taking over the country by storm. It's not the last of any of that. And Biden is not strong enough to combat it. So I think by fall, shit's going to hit the fan all over.
Well,
yes,
well,
Leslie.
There's going to be some huge trials this year that might not go the way we want them. So
I agree.
If you thought 2020 was bad, buckle up.
We're definitely in for a bumpier ride. I think that right now it's kind of like that calm before the storm kind of, you know? And I think that people really are not taking things in like, okay, yeah, we're in a new year, but nothing has changed other than we have a new president. Nothing else has changed.
I get your perspective, and I respect it. I just think, let's get this douchebag out of the news, which now that this trial's over in the Senate, I think that in part of what we need to collectively do and join forces is boycott this shit, boycott this money supply chain that's feeding money to these people. And it's only been a month since a lot of corporate sponsors are taking money away from conservative PACs and
that's not going to last.
Let's give it some time. Let's give everybody some time once we get him out of the media, and just see if he's got the freaking energy to come back and do it. And when it comes to electing these crackpots, the responsibility on electing them goes to the districts they're freaking winning in those voters.
It's just us. It's us. It's our responsibility. It's our fault if we don't, you know, actively take part.
That's my point. And in fact, this is what I'm going to do in Ohio. I'm voting primaries Republican. I'm going to do Republican primaries and try to vote for the least whack job, just so, and then I'll vote left in the general. But I'm going to try and get a movement of people in Ohio that vote in the Republican primaries to try and quell some of that shit.
Some people may not get that, but I get that. At the end of the day,
we have one congressman here in Ohio, Anthony Gonzalez, who voted in the House for impeachment. He's going to get primaried, and even though
do you feel like he's someone that you still need?
Say that
Do you
again?
feel like he's not going to get reelected because of that vote?
He runs kind of out of the Cleveland white suburbs, and rural. He's got a lot of rural votes. So he is going to get primary. Trump's already said, I don't know who he's going to get to primary him, and even though every one of those 10 congressmen and women who said, yes, I will vote for impeachment, were only doing their moral jobs, they're only in the 10% of the people that did that within their own party, and now they're getting death threats. They put their families' lives on the line. They've got security details. So I'm gonna do what I can to try and help Anthony Gonzalez not get primaried.
I completely understand, and I think going forward we really need to look at situations like this as situational. Everything's not black and white, and it has not been for a long time. And when it comes to this arena of things, we do have to kind of play it by ear, and it's situational. Okay, he's this kind of attention. I've got to treat this situation differently than this. And let's face it, the Republican Dems, two parts to the wall. And especially right now, considering they're both left in shambles, I get where you're coming from.
Well, dude, the whole country is in shambles. Okay, the checks and balances and the systems of democracy that were only biased before are now being completely fucking shattered. So a lot of the reason that I did what I did and quit making the money I was making is because with COVID and then the summer, it was like something's telling me, sit down, watch, wake up, and realize that this is the moment I'm calling you for. And I felt that calling, and I'm just going to take 1 foot forward at a time, man.
I think many of us, over the past 20 years,
if we don't all become civically active and we don't teach civics in this country, and that's probably all part of the plan to keep everybody ignorant as to the laws. Fucking cops don't even know what laws they're trying to enforce. They're enforcing shit that's not a law.
Right. But when you don't have the full understanding of things, but you know something is wrong, that curiosity kills the cat. Like, you have to figure out, why do I feel this way? What is driving this void inside of me? Is it because I'm living in a system that's fucked up and phony? Maybe. What do you think about Randy's comment? He says there will be a dramatic change in the GOP with the new push for a center-right back.
We'll see. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take an election cycle. They're going to have to lose in 22 like a motherfucker. But you got all these people that were never Trumpers in the beginning. Republicans against Trump, never Trumpers, the Lincoln Party. There's the freaking alumni,
and they do have a lot of power. They do. I don't think they just haven't exerted it.
These are the guys that we fucking hated and probably still will again in the future if ever changes.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, they're
our friends right now because what they're saying is true, right?
I think we use them to our advantage, and I think we need them if we're going to fucking survive this period, which is why, I would have voted. I'd like to vote for Bernie, but you know what, man? Honestly, Joe was probably the safest choice, and that's the way it worked out, because what are you going to do with another 4 years of Trump if he goes up? If it's Bernie and Trump wins? Politics, I think, and one thing I'm finding now in talking to, and that's one reason I won't go into politics, is because I'm not going to have the pressure to try and change things from the inside when it's very difficult, because when you're a politician, you actually have to play politics, because you might want to vote far left, but if you do that, the result is going to be far right, and you've got to figure out how to play that game so it ends up not the worst case scenario. So it's difficult, and we just have to keep moving and talking and figuring out how to outflank these guys.
Yes.
I hope it does.
I think it comes from being in a number of different arenas. Like, you're doing one thing over here, I'm doing something else over here. And if there's many, many, many people in all those different arenas, I think that's when we can create actual change. So, like, even though it's not your thing, and this necessarily wasn't my thing either, I'm doing this because I want to be a part of that big movement of people knocking this door down and bringing our own seats to these motherfucking tables. But do I like politicians? Do I like the game that's being? Hell no.
No, you take the
Hell
money
no.
out.
And I'm going to do everything that I can to sweep that out the way because I don't want that shit. I don't want someone telling me how I have to appease this person and that person. No. I'm talking about what I'm talking about, and if you don't like it, I mean, Trump did it. Trump has set a new precedent of what it means to be a politician. And honestly, that's the one thing that I will say I appreciate. That's it. That's it. But I will say that he did show to the masses that you don't need to look or act a certain way to run for office. You don't even have to know any of this stuff. I mean, you should. You really should. No one wants to be a bag like Trump and not know nothing. But I'm just saying. I mean, really, like, you do want to make sure that you're doing your homework, but you don't want to be a horrible person either.
I do want to answer the gentleman's question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think in the long run that center-right push will work, but I think there's a lot more bloodshed and things to come before that happens. I think that's where we end up in the long run, but it's not going to happen overnight.
You know what? I see what I agree. I see what you mean. I can understand where you're coming from. Leslie said that's why the whole system needs to go, dismantle and rebuild. Yes. Yes. Yeah. My only thing with that is we need a cohesive or a few plan to throw that in when we do come to that point. Are people thinking about this stuff now? Are people thinking about how do I envision my world? How do I envision not a perfect world, but a world that works forever? You know, I think those are the questions that people need to start asking themselves now.
Well, the system does need to go or be reformed or something, but how do we do that? I think the only way we legitimately do that is legislation, and voting. But if we're not gonna get actively involved in pressuring city councils and writing legislation and boycotting and protesting and putting pressure on them, man, even if it's city politics, find out what bastard ass companies in your city are paying these jackass politicians and hurt them. But it takes groups of people working together. So
yes, you hit the nail right on it. Because you're talking about protesting, changing laws, like all of that has to coincide. Or else one part's going to be lacking, and then people are going to strong arm, and then everything's just go back to the beginning. You get what I'm saying? And then we're going to be fighting even more. We have to make sure, like Leslie said, yes, you need the skills to back up demand. You need to prepare and organize. And that comes with making sure all the bases are covered, you know? Dismantling shouldn't be the solution. The current system is the foundation that we have to continue to build and evolve. Okay, so I agree with both of you.
I do.
And this is what I mean.
We're on the same side, all right? We might have different ways to get there, and this is what we were talking about. But that's why we don't just throw each other under the bus because we have a disagreement. But there's too many groups or Democrats out there. Man, how many motherfuckers you think are going to think exactly the same that's going to cause a majority to get shit done? It ain't going to happen.
Amen. Right. But highlighting those differences, knowing, okay, that's what you're doing, that's what your mind's at, this is what I'm doing, this is where my mind's at, let's keep moving forward and make sure that we're all pulling a leg out. You know what I mean? Not just say, oh, I don't like what you're doing. You sit back and not pull a leg out. I'm going to pull a leg out instead because what you're doing is wrong. No, if we all have the same end goal, change, I don't think that you should call anyone out. You can talk about what you're doing, give constructive criticism, but keep moving in your direction. And if you don't like what someone's doing, fine, but don't shoot them down for it. If you see the progression or the purpose in what they're doing in their specific, way of playing a part in this movement, then so be it. That's okay. And I think, I do think that there needs to be some dismantling to a degree, but I think that there are some things that are part of the very foundation of our nation that do need to stay. and I think they need to be built upon on, because there are some very good truths to that. Liberty, freedom, and a lot of the things that our country is supposed to work off of and says that it's supposed to, but it had never has. And I think that we can utilize those things and actually bring those things to fruition if we actually want those things. But I think it's actually a bit of everyone meeting halfway, not saying, okay, we're compromising with each other, but you stay in your lane, I stay in mine, and let's just keep all moving forward.
I'll give you an example that I've used before and that I've encountered. And I mean, it's been discussed since the elections. You have your groups that rightfully want to say defund the police and that's it. Whereas my philosophy, and I get that, but you're talking to not the most intelligent people that are trying to interpret what that means, because they're not culturally understanding of what that means. That's fear to them. My approach is, let me look at the city budget. Let me see how much is going to the police. Let me see how much is going to urban development and neighborhood and services, and start putting real dollar amounts or budget percentages and start transitioning money from social control to social investment.
Correct. And to elaborate on that, because those are like steps 1, 2, and 3, right? I think steps 4, 5, and 6 would be figuring out what programs we can take out of policing and have their own entity, like social working, like safety purposes. We can have our own safety committee to go around and patrol the streets. So police should only be utilized for a small smidgen of things to take away a lot of that power that they have. That's my big thing, as far as like, we need to weaken their support. We need to weaken their platform that they have, because they shouldn't have that much power. I think that they should be relegated to what a city councilor is, just a civil servant, you know?
If we're going to seriously attack the policing problem, we need to go after the unions, because the unions, no matter what the cities or city councils want to do, their hands are tied too. So you can be,
right.
if you don't know your shit and you're bitching at your politicians or your mayor, the unions are the strongest thing there are. So you got to figure out how do we attack that from the inside and out.
I would say that would be one. And then everything else after that, yeah, for sure. I want to jump back real quick to John Lewis and the event. Are you looking to do other things in the future that deal with civil rights leaders, or something that's still very reminiscent of this? Or are you looking to do any more protests soon, like March, April?
Oh man, I'd like to be doing 4 events a month. But it just depends the support. I mean, we've only been in existence for 3 or 4 months. I'm trying to expand our presence here in Toledo. So if anybody in Toledo wants to join up, go to buckeyesandbeyond.com and click the link to join. Right now, we're primarily a Facebook group, because that's where the most efficient communication is. And it's hard to try and make sure you don't bring in any bad seeds or any infiltrators. So that's kind of part of the reason that our growth is steady, but could be better. So we're trying to figure out ways to logistically bring people in that we trust more quickly. And yeah, I definitely plan on, and whether it's here in Toledo or it's in Columbus for Casey Goodson, yeah, this group will march, will organize, will promote, and write legislation. If you go to the website, you can see that we're a 401 or we're a 501(c). We're not a charity. We are going to get involved in legislation because that's the only way anything's going to change. And that was a conscious decision, because as a pure charity, you cannot get involved in that. So that's what we intend to do, is not just be in the streets, but to write laws try to get enough boycott power, just try to bring the people together to be the voice and actually do things for ourselves. But that's going to take some growth.
Yeah, I love it. I freaking love it. I think that the way that you're growing and the steady pace, I think is really awesome. And I think that personally, I think that you're on the right track. I love y'all. Honestly, I love what you do. I love how you do it. I love your reasoning behind why you're doing it, most of all. And I think most of all, you are very correct on the fact that we do need to be out on the street protesting. We do need to be visible, and we need to be seen and heard. But along with that, we need to be making moves to propose laws and have things written up as far as like where our mindset is on why things are fucked up and where we see improvements needed, and listing those improvements along with having those ideas backed up with laws that we want to change. If we don't have all of that in totality, I don't think, or for any respective area, I don't think that much is going to get anywhere because it's going to be lopsided. And then along with that, people form citizens and residents, form their own opinions based off. Like what I've seen is if you have a organization that's doing all of those things or attempt to do all of those things and not one realm, and everyone's doing different things, they tend to get better. The community tends to like them a little better. And it also shows to how serious people take that organization, and how they take themselves. And that's what I see with you, and that's what I see with Heather. And I don't see y'all stopping. So I really commend you. I really appreciate it. I'm glad I met you, first of all. We just came across each other on Facebook one day. So everything happened for a reason, just like how you and Heather.
There's no doubt about that, brother. That's why when you said like the way we're going, and this is, I don't try to get out I'm not trying to get out too far ahead of myself. I don't want to have specific plans laid that I'm putting out there for public consumption and then an event happens or something. Now, in my mind, yeah, I'm thinking 12 steps ahead, but something's going to change and I'm going to have to recalculate all 12 of those steps. So right now it's, probably the next week or so. And this group is a group of ideas. These should not all be my ideas, man. I want other people to pick it up. I didn't do this for myself. I did this to use my privilege for other people's power. So suggestions we get for events to do or causes that people within the group, and people within the group have thousands of different causes. Okay, well, let's see if you put your idea out there. Let's garner some support for it. And maybe it's not here in Toledo. Maybe it's in Pennsylvania somewhere, in Scranton or Wilkes-Barre. So the reason we have such an inclusive pillar set of areas we focus on, number one, they're all important. But number two, we want to be large enough that there's something in all 8 of those pillars being worked on at the same time, regardless of where it's at.
But I also think that you did a good job of covering all bases, so everyone feels like they're being heard in a way. Like what you're fighting for, everyone might not align their ideals with every single thing you're fighting for, but there may be enough of it that they say, okay, he's doing a lot, and I want to do what I can to contribute to that. I really think you're doing something great, and I definitely admire you. I hope that more people find out and see what you're doing. I'm trying to do my part to put people on, because you've got a good thing here. You've got a good plan, and you're not trying to be too big, too. And I think that's extremely important. And not to mention, we've got a long way to go. So we do need to keep our stamina in check if we're to not burn out, Man,
and that's something that we should probably talk about, is some mental health on this and some self-care before we leave. Because it's not getting any better, man. It's not getting any better.
No, not at all. Speaking of, there's Black History Month is a month that you can not only talk about past history, but you can talk about present history, what people have been accomplished. And I think especially with last year and all the trauma and pain that we all endured, especially us in the movement, I think that we need to be honoring present day activists, people that have made advances in our culture, in our country, especially last year, even last year. It's history, still history. I do think that needs to be said. And that's something that Arden was saying, meeting with purpose. It's extremely important. I think making sure, that's where I'm going with, making sure that whatever you choose to do, Arden, has a purpose, that it speaks to what you know that you're fighting. Because what I've learned is being a part of this, you could be pulled in all different directions and easily spread yourself so thin, but you want to keep fighting so hard and keep going so hard that you don't realize you're about to crash. And when you crash, we need to be more mindful of that. We need to be more checking in on our brothers and sisters, non-binary, letting each other know, hey, I'm here for you. Do you need anything? Do you need to vent to me? Do you need someone to just listen? I'll shut up and I'll listen. We need to be mindful of that and relating that to all of our friends and family. So the next episode will not be geared towards mental health, but I will post it on when the next episode geared towards mental health will be, most likely mid-March. I am in talks with a really awesome, actually two different topics, really awesome. One will be pertaining towards women of color and nurses and things pertaining to COVID, schooling, and how that affects them. But then I also have another individual probably talking about the mental health of Black men. But like I said, that won't be until March. The next meetings that the next episodes I have coming up, one is about my ancestry here in Lake County and how one of my ancestors fought in the Christianity resistance, which they helped protect escaped slaves that crossed the Mason-Dixon, trying to go upstate. They were here in Lake County, and a mob of slave catchers tried to infiltrate and take them, and it didn't happen. So that is something I really want to touch on, having pride in my ancestry, especially here in the county. And then I also have a family member of mine from Atlanta who, jack of all trades, and has done many things. He is the epitome of Black. So that is one that I will be doing before the end of the month. I haven't set a concrete date for that. Then I also have two very phenomenal women of color here within Lancaster City that are doing really great things. I don't want to put you all on to who they are yet because I don't want to spoil the surprise, but you're all going to be blown away at their accomplishments, what they're continuing to do, and how current they are in keeping up with being a part of our community. They're millennials, and they're doing the damn thing. They really are. And I do share a lot of their things. And I've worked with one of the individuals. So it's something I'm really, really excited about. The next 3 episodes that I'm working on, actually, I'm really, really excited about and can't wait to share with you. Also, a friend, Arden, shared your upcoming event, Mike, for the John Lewis event. So if you want to sign up for the event, if you want to go, or you want more information on it, please click on that link and sign up for the event, or at least just get more information on it. Again, Mike's organization is called Buckeyes Beyond, headquartered out of Toledo, Ohio, and his right-hand partner, Heather Johnson, is headquartered out of Columbus. They're doing a lot of great work out there. So if you did not catch the beginning of this episode, be sure to check it out. Mike is a really awesome individual who does a lot of work, not only just in his community, but just outreaching and networking, because this is extremely important. Yeah, doing your own stuff in your own town is great. Talking about the issues in your own town is very important. But forming bonds and network with people as far as we can is the most important. Arden says, thank you, Mike, for sharing your organization information and your efforts to fight justice. And going along with that, I want to ask you, is there anything you want to talk about, put out there, or just let people know that you have on your mind? Got the floor.
No, I mean, just Buckeyes and Beyond, one word. Buckeyes and A-N-D. Go there to tell you a lot about us. I want to go back to your point about talking to, and I do want to thank you. The last gentleman that said thank you, you're welcome. We're going to continue. I'm sure we'll have opportunity to work together and see each other, et cetera, because I'll get out to Pennsylvania sooner or later. If COVID wasn't going on, I'd already been out there, man. I mean,
Of course.
I got 24/7 to do this. So, I mean, traveling and meeting people is on my agenda. But I do want to give a shout out to what you just said about current people for Black History Month and recognizing people today. One of our sister organizations here in Toledo, the Community Solidarity Response Network of Toledo, you can find them on Facebook if you just type in CSRN Toledo in the search box. I think they're still currently taking nominations for their Black Lives Matter awards. So you can probably go to that site and check out their last cast, like we're doing here, their last video meeting. And a woman named Ruth Leonard will speak on how you can put your applications in. But I heard Corey Bush, I've heard Ms. Abrams, heard some people here locally. So it's I guess they're taking them from everywhere, man. So if you want to nominate somebody current day, go to CSRN Toledo and try to get a hold of them and find out if you can still cast a vote.
CSRN Toledo. Yeah, no, that's fucking awesome. It's time for us to wrap it up. I'm a little salty that we had some really juicy stuff we were talking about in the beginning. and my slow mind, I didn't hit go live. So that was my fault. But we had some really awesome, great conversation in the beginning of this chat. I wish you guys could have seen it, but maybe it was just meant for the two of us. Go figure, it's all good. I'm not complaining. Because it's always a pleasure chatting, and you've always got really solid stuff to say. So I appreciate you doing this with me, and Leslie, I appreciate too. I am looking forward to. I'm going to make this happen, but I'm just speaking it into existence now. I am going to get out there. I can't wait to meet, like, bro. I really can't. I can't wait to make history with.
Well, everybody the people that come here from out of state, I'm gonna take care of, man. I'll make sure I show you some appreciation for making the trip. I got love for you guys, and anybody that's gonna drive that far. I'm gonna make sure you guys have a good weekend.
I got such great respect, brother. You came out of nowhere like a wrecking ball, and I'm glad you're here. And please just continue on the work. I want to make sure that y'all check out all the platforms. Make sure you check out Buckeyes and Beyond. He has a Facebook page, Facebook group, and also a website. So you can check out buckeyesandbeyond.com as well. There has been comments put in the chat for you to check out the event that he has coming up for dedication to John Lewis as well. And for me, myself, you can catch me on the Leon Block on Facebook page. You can also check out the Counterpart on YouTube. Go ahead, brother.
I think it's one of Marianne Velez's groups.
Yeah.
Is putting out a John Lewis watch party over some watch service. So it's kind of like everybody watches Good Trouble on Zoom on the 24th. I can't remember which one of her groups put that out. But there is, I know, a John Lewis viewing party on the 24th for Good Trouble. Just shame on me for not remembering exactly which group it was. And
yeah, I believe United NEPA Alliance. I'm trying to find the event here. I can't find it, but I know what you're talking about because I did see it earlier. Yeah, so
in regards
when I find the event, I will add it into the chat here so people can grab it and check that out too, because that's important as well.
Sweet.
Sure.
In regards to our missed opportunity that didn't go live, brother, anytime you want to chat, we'll chat.
Yeah, man, for sure. I always love chatting with you, man. And honestly, there's some things that I need assistance from. So I will be I will be in touch soon. Oh, thank you, Russo. United NEPA Alliance is the name of the group. Make sure you go follow them. Make sure you check out the events that they have. They're another sister organization of ours that does really great work in NEPA, which is another area that I hail from. So please go support them as well. Support me and my brother Bam, Zeno, Spotify. Podcast is called Anarchist Newsletter. We have 2 episodes now. The first episode was about Walter Clare. Second episode is about Martin Sastre, which was revolutionary that redefined how you can express yourself in prison. If you wanted to practice Islam, you wanted to read books in Islam, you were not allowed. He changed that. He changed a lot of different things as far as how individuals were treated, especially Black in the so he's definitely someone you want to check out. Check out that podcast and listen to. And again, please check out Buckeyes Beyond, because this event, if you respect and looked up to John Lewis, like myself and Mike, you definitely at least want to check out the watch party that United NEPA Alliance will be having. All right, everyone. So with that being said, do you have any last things you want to tell the viewers, Mike?
No.
No.
Yeah, I lied. All right. So yeah, United NEPA Alliance. You're going to want to check out. They got a new website too. That's an awesome group.
Nice.
And again, if you guys come out to Ohio, I will show you some hospitality. We will have a decent time and honor a great man.
Sir. I look forward to it. All right, y'all. It's time to wrap this up. As usual, thank you for supporting the Leon Block. I love you all. Make sure that you take care of yourselves and make sure that you're trying to see. Go be great and make it a good one. Have a good night, y'all.